Transcendent patience. One moment's anger shatters all good acts accumulated in 1,000 eons, such as giving or offering to the Buddhas. There is no misdeed like hatred, no austerity like patience, so cultivate assiduously patience in various ways. When pangs of hatred clutch the mind, it does not feel any peace, no joy, no comfort, and no sleep. No constancy can be had, even though he has shown them favor with riches and respect. Dependence will confront and kill a master filled with hate. He will distress his friends and kin. Those gathered with gifts won't serve. In brief, there is not anything that makes the angry happy. The enemy anger will create sufferings such as these. Those bent on overcoming anger are happy here and elsewhere. When what I do not want is done, or my desires are blocked, displeasure will then fuel my hatred, which will grow to destroy me. Thus I'll destroy the sustenance of this my nemesis. Other than causing harm to me, the enemy has no function. Whatever happens, I will not upset my cheerfulness. Displeasure won't fulfill my wishes, but strip away my virtues. If something can't be fixed, what good is it to be displeased? We don't want pain, humiliation, insults, or disrepute, either for us or for our friends. It's the opposite for our foes. The causes of happiness are rare, and the causes of pain are frequent. Without pain, there is no wish for freedom. So mind, you must be steadfast. From Entering the Way of the Bodhisattva, a new translation and contemporary guide. The links are always in the show notes, and the show notes are always on podcast.compassionaterecovery.us. And this is Darren Littlejohn. Welcome to episode 70 of the 12-Step Buddhist Podcast. Wait, what? Wait for it. Patience is a virtue, it's a skill, and it's a pathway to enlightenment. We'll talk about that. First, we'll continue with the 37 practices of a bodhisattva. Number 27. For a bodhisattva who seeks a wealth of virtue, every harm is like a precious treasure. Therefore, without getting irritated by anything at all, to cultivate patience is the practice of a bodhisattva. Well, I already know what you're thinking. Anybody newer to recovery is not going to really feel that this is a possibility. I don't know anybody with 30, 40 years of sobriety who would say that this is a possibility. Most people in recovery don't think about, you're not going to hear about these kinds of things in typical meetings, and I don't know if they talk about this in Refuge or some of the others, but without getting irritated by anything at all, to cultivate patience is the practice of a bodhisattva. Well, we can practice it for a few minutes at a time, can't we? We can practice it for 10 seconds at a time, right? Now, I want to acknowledge something. I just did a lot of study and research for my new book, Psychedelic Sobriety, A Traveler's Guide. And I really learned a lot about trauma that I wasn't really thinking of, even though I've had training on trauma and mindfulness and yoga for veterans and those with PTSD, but this is quite a while ago. Maybe about 9 years ago, before we really knew a lot about trauma. So what I really want to say is that there are people who can't meditate. I learned this from one of the speakers on a recent summit, a clinician with a lot of experience dealing with trauma. So if you can't sit still, never fear, don't fret. You can meditate by going to yoga, practicing Tai Chi, ecstatic dance, but make it something that you approach as sacred meditation, right? Don't just say, yeah, well, I go to dance, and well, I go to yoga, and I sit on my phone, and then I do it, and then I chat with my friends, and then I get on Instagram. And you're really making it like every day I do this at a certain time, or if you don't have that discipline, do it every day no matter what. Don't beat yourself up if you don't do it every day, but try to do it 2 days in a row. That'd be awesome. Start where you are. There's no excuses. I never take excuses from anybody when it comes to recovery. Hey, coming up on 25 years without a drink of alcohol, December 4th. I do have cannabis, THC, in my system. I do utilize various types of psychedelic therapies, even though it's not really in a clinical setting. It's more organic and on my own, but I consider myself fully in recovery. I have the attitude and mentality of recovery, and I don't participate in addictive situations, except for my thoughts and feelings and identity and sense of an inherently concrete I that never changes. Although, take a look back at your life, it's all changed, hasn't it? I mean, what doesn't change? Teachings of the Buddha on impermanence. The point being that I've redefined addiction and recovery for you, for me, for everyone, based on the available scientific data and many decades of experience in recovery myself. It involves a different way of thinking about it, and I wish you'd just read Compassionate Recovery, grab a copy, open it up, read a chapter or two, try some of the practices. It is a journey that takes you from beginning, not to end, but beginning to new beginnings, each stage. But we can learn to develop in our own way, your recovery, your way. All right, back to the Bodhisattva path. What's the Bodhisattva path? As we know, as we might need a refresher, or for those new to the show, welcome. Thank you for listening. And the Bodhisattva is many things. There's different levels and different descriptions, different writings on what a Bodhisattva is. But in general, in the Mayahana, or greater Buddhist path, greater in scope, greater in the quantity of beings at hand in our consideration, this is the Maha, or greater, Yana, or path or vehicle. So in this one, we include everybody. We include all the beings. We include everything that we don't know and see, everything that we've hated, everything that hates us. We really give it up and we really offer to it. We do the chud practice, We do the mindfulness practice where we sit and still and we observe ourselves, sitting there in stillness, observing ourselves, noticing the feelings that arise. If you can't do it, I understand. But try to take this and incorporate it. I can't do 2 classes here at once here on the podcast, but if you don't sit still, please just take this into your movement practice. Please just do a walking practice. Let me give you one. It's easy. Take steps. Put your hands together. Grab a mala. Look down at the ground. Walk around somewhere. You can do it in a prison cell. You can do it in your room. I live in a camper. But I have a nice path outside. On the inhale, I'm arriving. On the exhale, I am home. So on the inhale, pick up your right foot mindfully. I'm arriving. Set it down like your foot is kissing and grateful and standing and balancing on and in awe of the sacredness of the earth. I am home. Repeat. Keep doing that. Be mindful. Keep your eyes from moving around. For a bodhisattva, somebody on the path that isn't just trying to save your own ass, that's what we say in recovery rooms. It's a save your own ass program. Okay, I understand the priority of setting boundaries and not being overly codependent on others and get sucked into the vacuum of somebody else's insanity. That makes sense. But ultimately, we learn, if we're in a Buddhist trajectory, we learn that the path involves more and wider. And it says, we are of service. And the 12th step, maximum service to God and his people, they say. So here, every harm is a precious treasure, because if we understand practice, then every time something comes, we can turn it and transform it to compassion. Just take the hit. Man, okay, all right. So just put it like this. All right, I'm not saying be a victim. I'm not saying be traumatized. I'm not saying re-traumatize. If you need support, please do get support. Please do get into therapy, group therapy, something, whatever you can, right? But in the traumatized, okay, so just kind of take this with a grain of salt, all right? I have to think through another way of a traumatized person. But I'm traumatized and I can do it. So I used to do this with my friend Billy in 6th, 7th grade, my friend Tony, all these guys, we just clench up and punch each other in the stomach as hard as we could. Not in the pit, because that was cheating. Although if you had a triple 6-pack there, you could hold the pit and nobody could hit it. But just imagine, just take the hit for the team Buddha, Team sentient beings. I'm not being a victim. I'm transforming it to compassion. Listen, refine your thinking and take that into consideration. I am not saying be a victim. I'm saying absorb it. Transform it into heartfelt, sincere compassion. Ow, look at what this is causing. You can even just take it into the in between me and the object of the person that I'm angry at. Look at the suffering. Just pause there. Notice the suffering. Put self-compassion in that. Notice the kindness. Notice the softness. Notice the warmness. Put your hand on something on your heart maybe. Okay, traumatized people don't want to be touched. Don't want to touch. Don't want to think about the body. I get it. You got to start somewhere. Baby steps. There's no excuses. Listen, I don't know. I'm not going to go into if someone has horrific years of really, really, really tragic torture and abuse. I mean, I can't pretend to know that. But I do know what the teaching says no matter what. And I do know that there were monks in Chinese torture, and they did it, and they came out, and it's the practice of a bodhisattva. You don't have to be on the path of a bodhisattva, but if you do want to be on the path of the greater good, here we go. Every harm is a precious treasure. It's an opportunity to transform into compassion. If nobody fucked with us, who are we going to be compassionate to? I'm only I'm compassionate to my mate, to my puppy. Of course you can start there in your meditation, but come on. Reach out. Expand your circle. Go practice some tiny thing. Think about somebody that really, really irks you, really doesn't like you. Just think kind thoughts and what's that person. Go just do something nice for the person. Just say something nice to the person. Say something nice about the person. How's that? So how do we do this without getting irritated by anything at all? Cultivate patience, practice bodhisattva. How? Therefore, without getting irritated by anything at all. I get irritated the moment I try to sit down to practice. I come from the Zen orientation originally. And that one, you kind of sit still. You could hear a pin drop. And what happens is you kind of get addicted to that stillness and the inability to really move. And it doesn't really deal with energy. It just really deals with, it's a Mayahana. It's an instantaneous, it's a transmission-oriented lineage. But there's a lot of blind spots, and they don't really know how to do it in the West. And it was for Japanese culture, and it's a version of a Dharma, pass through India, through the Chan, and mix with the Tao. China is all about that mixing, that kind of taking the, historically so in these spiritual traditions. So, take your Zen with a grain of salt, people. If you even know, Zen, but if you're not a Zen, it's just Zen is a kind of a common word now. It's kind of just being embodied in the moment, in the presence, being the present. They're not being in the present, trying to block the thoughts, kung fu them out of the way, try to be, something separate than the thought, something separate than the feeling. So just embody, notice, pause when agitated. And what happens in the patience sphere, you got to get relaxed. So we can always start standing or sitting, walking. Inhale. Let your throat be open, and it requires no effort to let go like a balloon. Pause, empty, and chill. Just hover in the space. That's right, I am this close to the microphone. Pause in here in this empty space. Notice the warmth of your body. Your body is alive. It's cooking. There's energy. Notice the feeling in your belly. Where's the center of your being? Where's the you? You don't know where the you is. Well, don't dart your eyes around, but just kind of look mentally. Just look for something substantial. Hey, let me know if you find it. So, this is the space where nothing's going to irritate. I get irritated the moment I start to try to get into that silent space, and it's you have to absorb the incoming. You have to absorb the incoming. And I'm not saying I know what it's like to be in the Ukraine or Kosovo or anywhere where there's war and the bombs are coming. I know some practitioners who were there in Kharkiv who survived and who practiced chud daily and who got on Zoom with us and are still alive. I know that in Kyiv we have a ling or a smaller Dharma group of practitioners there, but we still have the same principle regardless of the extremity of our situation. It's always the same essential principle. Okay, transform to compassion. Now, to transform to compassion is getting into some Tantra. It's kind of grabbing some principles. I'm trying to save you some time. There's really not a shortcut, but there's an instant shortcut. That's the Zen idea. However, it's incomplete, or further explanations that you wouldn't believe how many teachings and written works there are by very, very super dope enlightened masters, man. It's like the stuff comes from, deep consciousness of the, beyond consciousness, of multiple dimensions. It's really fantastic. If you're interested in that, read The Supreme Source by Shogyo Namkai Norbu, edited by Adriano Clemente. And maybe I'll find a link and put that in the show. I'll put that in the show notes. I promise. Okay. So I want to give you a book too. Okay. If you're the third person to email me, info@compassionaterecovery.us. If you're the third person to email me, I'm going to send you a hard copy, not an ebook, not a PDF, not a Kindle, a hard copy, not a hardcover, but a print trade paperback copy. It's $29.99. It's $29.99 because it's 440 pages and is filled with over 100 footnotes, tables, graphs, jokes, practices, community guidelines for meeting or groups or circles, how to approach recovery, what happens in the brain while we're like this, all this kind of stuff. So what we want to do, though, is get into that empty space. But it's not just empty. You still got your feelings. You still got your body. There's still energy cooking, percolating. It's like the shimmering rainbow, Yeah, it's the reflection. A lot of people talk about this. Oh, it's like the reflection. In that experience of just like the reflection, there's a lot of depth, a lot there. So you can drop into compassion instead of hatred. So what is impatience? Impatience means I'm fucking tired of waiting. God damn it, I want these son of a bitches to get out of my way. What the fuck is their problem? This episode will be labeled explicit. But, kids, basically, I can have a tantrum because my brain goes into complex PTSD reaction. I really can't do much about it except stay out of situations, But, really do work with it best I can, year after year after year. Can't get too medicated. The THC helps quite a bit. There's a lot there, but you got to kind of work with that too. It's not a panacea. CBD, 5 years, 6 years of that. It's helpful. But you can microdose a little bit and put some ashwagandha together with like a 32nd of a teaspoon. You can if it's legal in your area and you're within your guidelines of your state. I do not condone or authorize anybody or advise. This is purely for entertainment and educational purposes. Thank you very much. So we're in this chill still, right? Chill and still. And, this is where we practice the Bodhisattva, even if you can do it for 10 seconds. Hey, man, try to not be irritated for 10 seconds, will you? Jesus. All right, inhale. I'm talking to myself here. Exhale. Just chill, bro. Chill the fuck out. You think I'm kidding? You think that's just a stoner idea? Chill the fuck out. I mean, Mick Jagger or Altamont. Everybody, just chill out. Well, come on. Get relaxed and let go. Because it's only from this space that we can drop into the deeper levels of wisdom. The practice of the paramita of patience. The perfection of patience. Understand there's the relative and the absolute. The perfection of patience is to sit in the Buddha state. No matter what arises, it doesn't irritate you. Because it's samsara. It's subject-object. It's dualism. In other words, it's bullshit. There's nothing to get hooked. Nothing's going to hook you. You're a Buddha. I don't get hooked anymore. I'm a Buddha. Just be that. I'm not saying that, Darren Littlejohn. I'm just saying, be that. Integrate with your internal family system. People, it's all there. Google that. Dick Schwartz. Fucking the best shit ever. And I mean, I did voice dialogues for years with my groups in Portland and in the retreats at Brighton Bush. That was one small sliver I found out when I talked to Dick Schwartz at a trauma conference. Hey, he said, yeah, I do use that sometimes, but primarily, wow, he really gave a new insight. He developed this whole system. It's parts of you. You can talk to him. You can put him at the table. You can approach this in the way that's natural. This is what I love about this IFS system. You approach it in the way that's natural for you. And yes, if you do this with psychedelic assisted therapy, or if you just kind of do this in a really light way, I'm writing this book to help people. I don't want people to get sidetracked and traumatized and re-traumatized. And also get, jacked up by some bullshit, some yokel schmokel with a furry hat and thinks he's a shaman because he went on 2 ayahuasca journeys, has no idea how to hold space or cope with his own trauma. And we got trauma. Look, you can't say you don't have trauma. Let's go to Dr. Epstein. I forget the name of the book. I have to look it up. But, he Thoughts Without a Thinker was his first one, I think. And, he's been a Zen practitioner for a long time. You're traumatized in infinite deaths, infinite dreams, infinite traumas, infinite karmas of suffering inflicted on others by our self-centeredness ways, our anger, our thought in a concrete self that has to be in the middle of the universe and everything else to fucking rotate around it. It ain't gonna rotate around you. Did you notice? I don't know. I'm 60. I've been at this quite some time. I've noticed the world doesn't really revolve around me yet, even though I know that if I'm out and about, it's real difficult to kind of bring that into integrate into your daily life. But this is the practice. Inhale. I am arriving. Exhale. I am home. You can bring that anywhere. I'm standing there. I'm home. Home, my homies. All right. Have I gone far enough? We'll continue this. I took a week off. I just kind of got tired. I really hours and hours per day researching, listening to these things, taking notes. Really working on this for you. I'm reading all the papers, man. I mean, I got scientific academic research background. I don't give you bullshit. I give you what the facts are. Not the conspiracies, not the fantasies, just like what's it say about what do we know about us? And how can we apply this? How we integrate this with our Dharma? How we bring this knowledge together like His Holiness Dalai Lama said. Didn't I say I was done? All right, everybody. I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for listening. Please get on Amazon. Please check out podcast.recovery or podcast.compassionrecovery.us. Also compassionrecovery.us. Also all the books on Amazon. Okay. Peace out and namaste.